Fantasy managers, hello, good evening, and welcome back to another edition of the Euro 2020 Fantasy Football podcast powered by Esports Live and FPL Addicts. We've got another preview show for you today because there's so many changes to our teams for the most part of us, other than one man sitting right above me, the Guru, who hasn't changed his team, but we'll get onto that a bit more later. But we'll start with you, Matt. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Elliot. Just so excited for the Euros now. It's been 3 years since a major international tournament, so just can't wait.
Yeah, it just feels weird to think of it as 3 years ago, Ollie. I just remember, as many England fans will, the Kieran Trippier goal, and to think that was 3 years ago now is just absolutely crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely my best moment as an England fan for sure, seeing that goal go in. Hopefully there's another few moments like that this summer, but, great to be here as always. And like I said last week, I'll say it again, and every single podcast that we do is coming home.
Would you like to share what you're wearing today, mate? Because it's not exactly on topic with football, but it's England, so it's halfway there.
Well, yeah, look, I said this off air. My England top, it's in the wash, so I've had to change this up a bit. And all the other England football tops I've got are way too small for me. So, gone with the cricket ODI top from 2019, a World Cup that we won. So, hopefully to bring those winning vibes again today.
Yeah, not wrong there, mate, at all. Anything that's going to give England a good omen in making it come home, then I'm not complaining with that at all. But the only non-resident England fan on the podcast that's going to bring us all back down a level and just humble us a little bit as England fans is Statman Dave. He's back with us again today. How are you doing, mate?
Doing all right, guys. Spent a fair bit of time rejigging my defence today, so plenty of time. My hamstring locked down at the moment, so it's what I keep defaulting back to at the moment.
Yeah, it's sort of keeping a lot of people going, and that's what it sort of can do. It brings out a lot of social interactions, as we've found, and it's a really good way to just sort of get by and cure a little bit of your boredom. And another man that I'm sure has made a lot of changes to his team this week is Jack Gillibrand. He's back with us today again. So how are you doing, mate?
Yes, boys, delighted to be back. I've got my England top on, lads. It's coming home, Ollie Walker Peel. Obviously buzzing, got the England shirt through the post the other day. Been waiting a couple of weeks for this one, just in time. Ready for kick-off. So, buzzing, lads. Come on.
Yeah, it's a nice home kit, isn't it? It's definitely one of my favourites of recent years.
Yeah, smart top. And listen, as long as it's got 3 lines on it, don't mind if it's a football, cricket, rugby, whatever it may be.
As long as it's not Spurs that Matt's wearing. But Ollie, you said that you've ordered a top for yourself. Did you get the away kit?
Yeah, I did. I got the away kit. Should be here hopefully in time for the third game against the Czech Republic. Probably not before, which is a little bit annoying. But I'll get here eventually.
Yeah, you just have to stick with cricket until then. But if you're supporting England, that's all that really matters in our book. And Matt as well, have you ordered your England top yet?
Yeah, I have. Got one from Kitbag on the way. Similar to Ollie, I'm not quite sure if I'm going to get it in time for the start. I'm hoping, it comes by the end of the week. But yeah, I've got a name on there as well. I thought I'd get it personalised, and I got the Euro badge, just in case it's a, historical one down the track. So, could end up being retro in 20 years' time. So, looking forward to it arriving.
When you're all rich and famous, mate, you've got Matt Day, the Guru, on the back. Everyone will be wanting it, 100%, mate. That's all you can probably think of at the minute. But Statman, have you managed to pick yourself up a Belgium shirt or anything yet?
No, I haven't actually. I haven't got around that yet.
Oh, you've got to get one, mate. You're gonna have to get one if you're gonna go for Belgium. If you're gonna go for the Red Devils, you're gonna have to pick yourself a top up from there for sure.
If I order one now, I might come for the final, maybe.
Oh wow!
They're doing them at Rebel. They're doing it at Rebel, so you should get it really quickly if you ordered one now. They're not doing any England ones at Rebel.
I'll look into it.
They're not selling England.
We're not sponsored by any of these brands that we're working with that we're showing out today.
We should be. We should
wish we were. Yeah, we would.
Next season. Next season we will be.
Very much wish we were. But we'll move on swiftly now to just a sort of review of some of the friendly matches which have taken place over the past couple of days. And we'll start with you, Matt. You're going to review for us just a little bit of England v Romania, which was played this morning. England came out triumphant, 1-0 winners. What did you sort of make of the game? Did anyone sort of impress you?
Look, obviously didn't get to see the main man Harry Kane in action, so I was happy to see him rested for the opening game. But in terms of people that impressed me, definitely Sam Johnston in goal. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. Some of those saves, backed up his form of that he had at West Brom in the Premier League. So he really impressed me. And Jack Grealish as well. He's one player I absolutely love. I rate him highly. So yeah, Sam Johnston and Jack Grealish were the two that I was really impressed with in that game.
Yeah, Jack Grealish looks like he's definitely going to be one of the names that just nailed on the team sheet, in my opinion, at least. Do you sort of think the same? He's got to start.
I think so. I think before he got the injury for Villa this season, he was just outstanding. And if he didn't get that injury, it wouldn't even be a question about him being on the team sheet. But I think he's got to be. I think he's brilliant player, playmaker, which England need.
Yeah, absolutely. And if he's supplying your man Harry Kane, then he's definitely going to be in with a shout of bringing home another trophy for Spurs, maybe with the golden boot. So we'll just have to see how that goes for him. But we'll move on to a little bit of hostile territory now. And Ollie, you're going to review Scotland v Netherlands for us. Obviously, it was 2-2, and one of the players that you've got in your team was on fire.
Yeah, pride and joy, Memphis Depay. Again, another player in my team that I'm surprised that not many more people have gone with. Obviously, scored twice, including an 89th minute equaliser against Scotland, who, I said earlier on the season, I've jumped on the Hibs bandwagon. So I said, if anyone's going to score for Scotland, I'm happy to see Kevin Nisbet score. He's probably one that you could look at on the outside shout. Came off the bench this morning after having an amazing season for Hibs in the Scottish Premiership, and he's one you can maybe look at. But for Memphis Depay, you've got to have him. He's another striker. There's too many strikers. I say you've got to have him. There's so many strikers you can pick from, but Memphis Depay should be at least in the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And, getting a 2-2 draw with Netherlands isn't that bad at all, mate. So you're sort of being a bit wary, giving Scotland a little bit more respect now in England's group, maybe?
As long as they don't score against England, and I don't think they will, we should be fine.
Yeah, that's what we like to hear, mate. That's the absolute spirit that the three lions need at the minute. They didn't look too bad, and Andy Robertson managed to get himself an assist as well. He made a darting run to get the assist for their second goal as well. So he's 5.5 priced in Euro Fantasy. Is he one that people should maybe be looking at? Yeah,
that was Nisbet's goal. The second, he put it on a plate for him, didn't he? He put it right to the back post, easy tap in for the Hibs man, and we know what he's about, Andy Robertson, don't we? Really, we know exactly what he's about from watching Premier League for however long. He bombs down the wing, the fullback. Sorry, he gets those assists, and he's quality. And at 5.5, obviously in FPL, we're used to him being 7 million, 6 million. So having at 5.5, I reckon he's a good shout.
He's got no one to pass to, has he?
That's the thing. He's not got the Salah and Mane that he can just cross it into all day, does he? That's the thing, isn't it?
They were saying that's why Gareth was wanting to put 4 England right backs in to look after Robbo.
Make you feel a little bit more home. Yeah, absolutely. And we'll move on to Statman Dave's analysis now of Belgium v Croatia. And, a lot of people have gone with Romelu Lukaku in their team, and all his owners would be delighted to see him on the score sheet, Statman.
Absolutely, me included. 1-0, so decent display without really setting the world on fire or really showing it off the scoreboard. But Croatia started pretty strong early until Lukaku scored in the 38th minute for the only goal, but it was a decent handful throughout the game. Denier, who's a young defender at the back for Belgium, and who I reckon is probably a bit of a great bargain defender pickup at $4.5 million with the assist. Also a pretty strong performance from Courtois in the goals with a clean sheet, and Hazard making a little cameo at the end for 8 minutes as well, the last 8 minutes. So he's in contention to play for the round games, I suppose, now as well.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll definitely be wanting to start. We spoke about it last podcast, how, he's such low ownership. And if it was the World Cup 3 years ago, he'd be probably an essential in your team. So it's a weird fall from grace from him. But definitely a lot of assets to look out for from both Belgium and Croatia, I think. So that was definitely an interesting one. And as I said, a lot of Lukaku owners would be delighted to see him score. But back onto merrier things now, back onto England, back onto the champions of Euro 2020. We've got Jack, and just, sort of talk to us a little bit about England v Austria. Obviously, it was another 1-0. It wasn't the prettiest display, but it was a win in the end, and that's all that really mattered in the friendlies. And what did you sort of make of the game?
Yeah, I think, it's tough with England. It's still at that point we don't know what's going to be happening with the starting 11. So obviously there's a couple of players in there who maybe needed a run. A couple of players who didn't make the 26-man squad. The likes of Jesse Lingard was in there. James Ward-Prowse, who we thought might get the nod ahead, but Ben White's got that today to take over Alexander-Arnold. But Saka got that run out as well, got the goal. looked really sharp. Obviously, I like him in there. He's obviously versatile as well, which we know Gareth Southgate loves. Trippier obviously got the run out as well. Looked good. Grealish again, and our man Harry Kane. But I'll tell you what, who looks really good. Jude Bellingham, 17 years old, absolutely machine. Rolls Royce of a player he looks like, and gutted United didn't sign him back in when they had the opportunity. But Jude Bellingham looked really, really smart as well on the ball, clever, doesn't panic. So he's a good one to look out for. I'm not too sure how many minutes he's going to get, but if he does get the nod at some point, I'm sure he'll do a good job.
Yeah, you'll be used to that by now, not signing players from Man United. So, you shouldn't be too disheartened by that one. But as you're saying about Jude Bellingham, he's been absolutely brilliant every time he stepped on the pitch for England. And he's had a really, really nice season out in Germany with Borussia Dortmund. He's, he's definitely one that isn't expected to be in the starting 11 for every single game. But, with the likes of Jordan Henderson just coming back from injury and, not necessarily being 100% fit, would you be surprised if he's given, the nod, maybe him side by side with someone like Declan Rice to start?
I'd be surprised, but it might, obviously, win the game management over the group stages, in that third game possibly, or second game to now the first couple of games go. They might get an opportunity to get a run out and get some minutes, but I wouldn't expect him to play too much of a big part in there. Obviously, experience-wise, he's going to be massive because he's one for the future. But I think going back to, obviously, what Jack Grealish, his performance this morning and also against Austria, looks the goods, doesn't he? It's just whether Phil Foden can get in ahead of him or not, I guess.
Yeah, we'll take a quick consensus, I think, because it's going to be quite, interesting to see who everyone would sort of pick to start over one another. But if you had to choose one in the England lineup and only one of them's going to start, we'll start with you, Matt. Grealish or Foden?
Grealish.
Jackie Grealish. Ollie, are you going to agree?
I am, but only just. I think they're both quality on their day, but I'll take Grealish.
Yeah, and what about you, Jack?
Yeah, listen, I'll go Grealish just because of the City biased.
And we will ask you, Statman, just so you're not feeling left out, but don't mention a Belgian player. But out of Jack Grealish and Phil Foden, who would you be picking to start?
I think let's make it unanimous. Let's go with Grealish.
Yeah, I think Jack Grealish for me as well. He's the one that's got to start ahead of Foden. But it's nice to have the options, isn't it, Ollie? To be debating between players like Jack Grealish and Phil Foden. It's not exactly the worst problem to have in the world, is it?
I tell you what, going into the World Cup in 2018, we were debating whether to have Ashley Young and Danny Rose at left back. It's definitely a nicer debate going over Grealish or Foden up the other end of the field now. So, look, yeah, it definitely is nice to have the options. And obviously, we were saying off air, it's a 26-man squad. Usually, it's only 23. So we wouldn't even have these debates of who do we take over Trent. But even all the players that were in the running, you've got likes of James Ward-Prowse. You've got, who else do we have in there? Ben Godfrey, decent. Ben White, Jesse Lingard. They're all quality players, so it is nice to have the depth, definitely.
Informed players, yeah. Informed players mainly, I think.
Elliot's female that Joe Willock wasn't in the conversation.
Yeah, he probably deserved a little bit of a shout, but probably wouldn't have taken him over the calibre of players that we've got there. But, Ollie, you seem pretty delighted with the Ben White shout more so than me, Jack and Matt. So, you sort of happy to see him included?
I wouldn't say I'm delighted with it. I would have taken James Ward-Prowse myself, but I understand why he's done it. I understand why Southgate's done it. People are saying, Southgate, he's clueless. What's he doing? But Ben White's a top defender. Ben White's a really good defender. Does he start over John Stones? No, he doesn't. But, we've had the, potential injury with Maguire, and we might need someone to slot in. You'd think of the guys like Tyrone Mings and Connor Cody. You may say we maybe have too many centre-backs. Well, that might be true, but, you don't want to let injuries cost you. And Ben White, I think, is quality on his day. So I don't mind it. I would have gone with Ward-Prowse if, I was in charge. Obviously, I'm not. And there's a reason why I'm not. So I don't mind it.
Well, maybe in a couple of years' time, mate, for the World Cup or the Euros in 4 years' time again, then you'll be at the helm for England and you can take whoever you absolutely want to. So we'll be seeing a full Blackburn Rovers team and England will get knocked out in the group stages. But no, that wraps up the sort of the friendlies review for the last friendlies before Euro 2020. So moving on now, and as we mentioned earlier in the podcast, there's been a lot of changes to a couple people's teams. And we'll start off with you, Jack. We'll go with you first, and we'll just let you sort of talk us through any changes that you've made or the reasons why and the reasons behind it. So just take it away, mate.
Yeah, listen, I think I'm on my about 8th draft team. Been making loads of changes. Oh, look who's just arrived. Chris Reed, welcome to the room, mate. There he is. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks, fellas. Euro 2020 week, so let's have it. Let's go.
How's it in England at the minute, mate? Is everyone getting excited, getting up for it?
Yeah, well, it's been scorching over the last few days, so I think people are rubbing their hands together over the prospect of watching the Euros in the beer gardens. So it's heating up nicely, isn't it?
Yeah, stars have sort of aligned with restrictions in England and everything, haven't they, with Euro 2020? So it's definitely going to be an absolute, festival of football this summer over in England. But Jack, we'll just
yeah, I don't know if your internet's going then, mate, but yeah, all good, mate. So my team obviously changed it around a few times. I got a few messages from Reedy actually about my team. He was giving me a bit of banter about not having enough superstars in there. But
I think on Discord, Jack, or
it was on our Discord channel, which you can join. Obviously, some more details will be that along the podcast, and we'll put that on the show notes, as they call them, on the caption online. But yeah, so I was having a look at my team, and I wanted to go from a team to a squad. So I think from my one, I've got substitutes in there who can, make an impact and probably will start for the countries, or just question mark over Moreno. But within the team itself, 3-5-2 at the minute. Kasper Schmeichel's still in the pipes. He was one of my first picks. He got another clean sheet this morning as well for Denmark. 3 at the back, a couple of Belgian players in there. Just question mark over Meunier, whether he's going to. He did play a friendly last week, didn't play this morning. I think he will start. He's been pretty much a good starter for Belgium over the last couple of years. Denea, looking good in there. Statman mentioned. Wijndal, who can name this one?
Wijndal, he's from AZ, isn't he?
Yeah, what's it called? Wijndal. But I think he's been starting over Patrick van Aanholt last couple of games as well. So I've put him in there. Great value. Looking good. And then more playing the fixtures. Alaba's got the call up in there at the moment just because I think they've got a good fixture, obviously against Macedonia. And then the midfield, I'm loving Berardi. I think he looks the goods. I watched him for Italy. Looks really good. Wijnaldum as well for Netherlands. He's got great form in his last. He's got 8 goals in the last 7, or vice versa. Still unbelievable considering he does nothing for Liverpool. He's somehow managed to blag a move to PSG as well. I think they've snapped it from Barca. Ferran Torres and Jota.
Mate, I think.
Yeah, Ferran Torres and Jota, absolutely unbelievable in the Premier League. We know what they can do when they've played. Torres looked in good form as well. And then obviously Ronaldo pulls on the heartstrings, got him up top. Just debating whether Depay or him. I think I might move Ronaldo out after this game, after round 1, after the first group game, and then bring someone like Depay. But now he's looking all not too sure yet. And then Harry Kane, of course, stick him up top. So yeah, that's my team, mate. Sorry for talking on for too long, but yeah, at least I'm quite happy. I'm nearly there. I think 1 or 2 maybe changes before deadline day, but I think I'm there or thereabouts.
No, absolutely, mate. And it's very interesting to see that you've gone with sort of players that are going to be quite capable off the bench as well. Moreno and Spinazzola aren't exactly, the basement boys of price-wise. So is that sort of a strategy that you think you're going to be implementing, sort of not just putting all your money into your first team and maybe having something on the bench so you can fall back on it because of the substitutions and stuff?
Yeah, because of the manual subs kind of ruling that's in there, I think you've got to have a squad in here. You can't just have a first team, first 11. You've got to have a bit of depth in your squad. For me, so I think that's how that's kind of looking, and I think I'll be seeing what everyone's other draft picks are looking like. If there's any other little picks in there that I could steal off or potentially look at and change up. But I think they're, like I said, they're thereabouts in the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. And Reedy, do you reckon you've had the influence on Jack here? He's got Ronaldo and Kane up top. You know, you be talking about superstars. They're the superstars that he's going to be wanting in his team that you're telling him he needs.
Is that what you wanted to see, Reedy? Is that what you wanted to see, mate?
It is looking better. No, it is looking better up top, and I think most people are going to have a high price forward, or striker in there, and realistically, it makes sense to captain a goal scorer, So in fantasy football, as we all know, leadership attributes don't matter, when you're picking your captain. The player who's made captain, they'll have their points tally doubled. So make sure, obviously, that you put the armband on the player who'll score the highest. So like I say, good little forward line. I think he does need to make a few tweaks there, but he's still got a few days to do that. So we'll see.
Yeah, we definitely will do so. Sort of mentoring you towards your Euro 2020, Jack. But
I think he's forgetting where he finished in his Premier League.
Well, hey, listen, we're all we're all capable of having a blip, as we know.
As long as 38 weeks, mate.
As long as the transfer trigger's not which that's dead and buried now. Fantasy season's over. I've made enough transfers. I'm fully aware of how obviously this one works. It's you have to be a lot more sort of prudent with prudent your team, I should say, really, by swapping informed players and moving the deadwood. So it's basically it's a tournament, isn't it? So it's completely different to your average weekly football. Where often a wild card player will rise to prominence. Should we say, really?
Yeah, absolutely. And, thank you for that, Jack. It just shows, everyone's sort of making changes at the minute. And, if Reedy's telling you got to get the superstars in, then everyone watching along, you got to get your superstars in. But we'll move on to your team now, Matt. And, as I mentioned before, we don't think you've made any changes yet, have you, mate?
Nah, but I'm definitely going to be. Obviously, I've looked at, been on the app, I've looked at a few players.
This one's yours, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's mine. There's a couple. You know what? He might come out. I think De Bruyne's coming out. Missing that first game. I can't keep him in there, so he'll come out. Mcginn probably will come out. He's got a good international record, but there's a few other players that have caught my eye in these friendlies. Chiesa, it's 50-50 at the moment with him as well, just as to whether he's going to start or not. So yeah, I'll definitely be making changes. I'm looking at Eriksen from Denmark. He's got a great record for the Danes. They've got 3 games at home as well, so he might go in there. Front three's more than likely going to stay the same. Lukaku, good international record. Kane, although I've had a few people try to twist my arm about removing Kane, and going with Depay, because the Croatia game is quite a tough fixture. But look, I'm going to keep him, and then Ronaldo. I think he's got to be in there against Hungary.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Ronaldo is one that a lot of people have gone with. Other people choose sort of Mbappe over him, but you're favouring Ronaldo, Matt.
Yeah, I just think that fixture. It's actually a home game. I think for Hungary, it's going to be played in their home stadium, so that might make a bit of a difference. But yeah, was it Euro 2016? He scored a back heel against Hungary. Was that the fixture, or am I getting it wrong?
I'm not too sure, mate. I definitely remember a back heel. If you plucked that one out of nowhere, then absolutely fair play to you. If someone can get working on behind the scenes now just to find out if that is true.
Statman Dave.
Statman Dave should just know off the top of his head, shouldn't he?
And he's got a. I think Ronaldo's international records, his goals are all against the smaller nations. He doesn't tend to kind of score against the Germanys or the the Frances of this world, but against the smaller sides.
Spain a big team.
Spain are a small side now because he scored a hat trick against them in the World Cup, didn't he? So.
Then. But if you look at his overall.
Exactly.
I think if you're looking at the fixtures, he's in for the Hungary game for me, but then Germany and France. Yeah. I don't
similar
know.
to where I was at, Guru.
Yeah.
I think, just questioning that, but I think also it's relevant with Harry Kane as well. Just that Croatia game, even though you want him in there, it's a big game in it, and hopefully England can step up and not too defensive and don't kill it. So I think question marks over Ronaldo for the latter 2 games of the group stage, and then Harry Kane for that first one. I think that's what I was thinking as well. But
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's it.
And we have got confirmation from VAR there from our very own Statman Dave that the backheel goal was in fact against Hungary. So,
Okay.
hats off to you there, Matt. You
Knowledge.
managed to remember that. Yeah, absolutely. So, fair play to you. And John McGinn, you spoke about him a fair bit. You think you're the only one here that's gone with John McGinn. Do you want to care to explain, the thought process behind that?
Yeah, set pieces, pens, free kicks. He's got a really good record at international level, and you sometimes get those players that when they're the main man, they they carry their nation, and John McGinn's one of those. Gareth Bale's another as well. I've got him in the back of my mind for this fantasy league too. So you get those players that carry their nation, and he's one of them. But yeah, whether or not he'll stay, we'll see at the end of the week.
Yeah, and I'm a bit disappointed, mate, that none of your drafts have involved your man Gundogan just yet. But if you are a viewer of the FPL podcast, you'll know about Matt's man crush on Ilkay Gundogan this season. So is he? He's sort of fairly decently priced, and he's sort of going to be expected to start for Germany. So is he one that's going to be on your radar, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I guess it depends where they decide to play him. If he gets that advanced role that he got with City, then definitely got to be in with a shout. But if he's a bit deeper. Tricky one. All depends on his position, but maybe in the knockout stages if they make it through.
That's the thing, isn't it? That the group of death, you never really know. But it would be weird for you to not go with your man Gundogan in one of your teams. You've got to have him and your man Harry Kane for the whole tournament, in my opinion. But your team's your team. You got to do what you got to do to try and win. But we'll move on to your team now, Ollie. And am I right in saying that you as well haven't really made any changes yet?
Look, no, I haven't. I've got a lot of changes to have to make, though, that I'm just working out how to do it. Obviously, De Bruyne has got to go. I've got to make myself a squad, but I'll obviously do that over the next few days. Obviously, my front three is set in stone. There's no way that's changing, unless there's an injury there. I'm happy with most of that team. I'm going to go down from De Bruyne. I'm not sure who to, but I'm going to downgrade him, and that's probably how I'll make the rest of my squad. So just modest little downgrade and then upgrade my bench, and I should be set to go because I'm happy with most of that team.
Yeah, and are you gonna stick with Jack's man Bruno?
Yeah, definitely. I think people call him a penalty merchant, and he does score a lot of pens. And obviously, with Ronaldo, he won't be on penalties, but he's an incredible player outside of penalties. And Jack will obviously know that, being a Man United fan. But he's an incredible player, top scorer in FPL by a country mile, and 100%.
Is it nice to hear that, Jack, that he's not just a pen merchant from the great manager of England, Ollie Walker-Peel?
It was Mr. Worldwide. Thank you for that. I think, listen, Bruno was great, obviously, but obviously you would have recognised I took him out of my team just to get a bit more value in a squad. And I think that's where the difficult bit with that balance, which Ollie will obviously come to play with in the next couple of days. I'd love Bruno in there all day. It's just that value over the squad is tough to keep him in there.
Yeah, and who do you think's going to be leading the chances to get into your team when you remove Kevin De Bruyne, or Ollie? Are you going to look for maybe a Belgian player again, and maybe someone like Eden Hazard?
He's one I definitely won't be going for, which might surprise a lot of people. I've seen that one pop
Brutal.
up. No, look,
Thorgan.
maybe if I'd have a look at Thorgan. Again, I won't go with him, but I'd go with Thorgan over Eden at the moment. I think Eden Hazard might be one later in the tournament if he decides to do something. If he decides to shift the bit of weight that he's been putting on and scoring some goals, then possibly. But no, he's a great player, Eden Hazard. You're not wrong. He's a great.
He'd be very pleased to hear that off you.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't need the future manager of it. I'm not going to manage England, am I, realistically? But imagine that though, Mornington under-18s manager, mate. We're unbeaten there, so it's a good start to the CV. But no,
stop playing Football Manager and let's just play.
Well, mate, you will be the one playing Football Manager at the end of this league, mate. When I inevitably, hopefully win the paid one. But De Bruyne for me will be the one to go. Zacharian on my bench as well will also go. I just want to create a balance. So most of that team, like I said, I'm fairly happy with. Let's see what it can do.
Yeah, you have to try and get, your favourite player from England, Ben White, in. As much as you were raving about him before and how he should be in the England squad, you're definitely going to be wanting to look at him, Ollie. But we'll move on to another man who this time has made a lot of changes to his team, he says, because of, the lockdown here and a lot of free time on his hands. So Statman Dave, you spoke last week about your team, but you've made a lot of changes now. So would you like to walk us through? And I am wrong saying that Matt was the only person with John McGinn in his team, because you have got him in your team as well.
Not my team, so don't worry about that.
I'll bring it up in a second. Dave, you just carry on, mate. Sorry, 2 seconds.
A few of the changes I made today. I bought in Windledon for Frankie de Jong, just because of the bit more of an attacking role that he plays. And he scored 8 goals in his 7 appearances, I think, in the lead up. So he's a goal scoring threat from the midfield. The backs is probably where I've made a couple of changes. So I've taken out Van Arnholt for Blind, and then Denayer, who seems to be in a few of your teams as well. I brought him in for Kufal as well, just more of as a longer term option probably than Kufal.
Yeah, and you've got to have some Belgian players in there. Obviously, you was a massive Belgian fan. So Denayer, he's cheap, isn't he? So he's one that's in my team that we'll get onto in a minute. But he's sort of going to be pretty nailed on to start for Belgium. So you're expecting sort of a lot of clean sheet points from him?
Yeah, absolutely. And he's been playing plenty of minutes as well, and he had the assist in that game against Croatia as well. So potentially he's got some points outside of the clean sheets as well.
Yeah, he definitely looks like one that a lot of Euro fantasy managers should be looking at for their teams. But we haven't managed to get his team up on the screen now, so we'll just move on to mine ever so quickly, and we'll go through my team if we can possibly do that, Jack. And that's definitely Matt's team again. And we will move on to this now. And, I have actually made some changes. After I sent you this, I've just realised I haven't gone with Andy Robertson, but the team hasn't changed too much. I got rid of Harry Maguire for Kyle Walker because there's a lot of question marks over Harry Maguire, and if he's going to be fit to start, Ollie's man Ben White might get the nod over him instead. So we'll just have to see with that one. But I also got rid of Mason Mount for Jack Grealish. I just think that Grealish is pretty nailed on to start, and he's going to be getting fouled a lot. And in this game you get points for winning penalties, which I think is a bit silly. But if Grealish is in the box, he's known to dive quite a bit. So hopefully he's getting more winning the penalties for me. This side of it now instead of getting the yellow cards. But no, hopefully he should be starting over Mason Mount in my opinion as well. So. Set pieces, goals, assists, he's got it all. So, I'm just sort of favouring him over Mason Mount. And I think if you've got Mason Mount in your team, I think it's worth that 0.5 extra to upgrade to Jack Grealish. But, that's just my opinion. And then I also went to Diogo Jota as well, who's got that game against Hungary. And I'm not too sure what I'll do with him after this game, but I just fancied him for this game for some reason. I've taken De Bruyne out, and I've just got a feeling about Portugal in this game. I think they're going to want to make an impact straight away and just show the rest of their group that they're not here to mess around and finish third. They're here to make business, and I think that they'll gel well together. And I think they could score 3 or 4 in that game. And Jota, Jack spoke about him before, and Ferran Torres about how good they've been this season. So. I can definitely understand where you're coming from with the Portugal backing, Jack, and we'll both be hoping that they can score 3 or 4, then, won't we?
Yeah, I think so, mate. I think he's a spot on choice. Look, he's got a great record with Portugal. I think he's got 9 in 19. I think it is at international level. So he's definitely been bagging goals. Jota, and I think that Hungary fixture does look very inviting with him and Ronaldo hopefully getting amongst it. And they're the two that score the majority of the goals as well for Portugal. I think João Felix has only scored 1 or 2 goals at international level, and he's £100 million striker. So I think relying on them. So good choice in there. I love the Grealish shout as well. He's like you said, most foul player in the Premier League last year, I think he was, and is the last 2 years. So he's definitely one to get the opportunities for England and get those set pieces and create the opportunities. So good combo in midfield.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Thank you very much. And I've just remembered who I have taken out for Andy Robertson. I've gone for Thomas Munir, as well as, I can't remember which one of you it was. I think it was you, Jack, as well, again, that went with him. So, the double up on Belgium, the triple up on Belgium, but the double up on the Belgium defence, which Statman Dave will be delighted to hear that sort of that'll fingers crossed they'll get me a lot of defensive points, and Lukaku can do the business for me up the top end of the field. But that's sort of my team. Obviously, it's going to be subject to change. You know how it is. Teams change all the time before the start of the season, so it'll just be interesting. And for one of the first times on the Euro podcast, definitely we'll go through your team, Reedy. And this is one that we didn't get to see last week, so we don't know if you've made any changes recently. But just take us through your team.
Really, that isn't your team, is it?
That's Ollie's team.
I'm having a nightmare with the graphics tonight. It won't be long. I'll try and quickly make it now.
Could you remember much off the top of your head, Reedy?
He's got triple up in Switzerland. That's all we know.
He's on mute.
Reedy, you're on mute.
I am on mute. You're right. Apologies about that, boys. It's all going wrong today, isn't it? I think we're all allowed that. A few tech issues, but no, my team's. I'm not sure if I've got any Swiss players in there. I think one or two maybe, but they're not starters. You know what I mean? I know I've raved about the Swiss a little bit in the Discord there, but my team basically, I'll run through it very quick. It's Szczesny in net. I've got Cancelo at the back with Kufal and Bednarak, I think. Then you've got Bruno Fernandes, Chiesa, David Alaba, and Marcus Llorente in the midfield. Up top, Ronaldo, Mbappe, and Mobley. So I haven't changed much, as I say. Similar to Matt, really. I haven't really made any transfers or any changes yet. But I will be for 100%. I've not really watched many friendly games either. I've not watched much football lately, which is rare for me. So you guys probably got one break in it, mate. That's it. I'm having an extended break, after the Premier League season and Liverpool's tough season. So we won't go into that. That's a story for another day, mate. We'll touch on that another time. But as I say, there's plenty of changes I think people are going to make. Let's be honest. No one's team's a finished article yet. But for me personally, I'll definitely be poaching a few players there and keeping an eye out on. Some of the info you can get online. Really, that's the best way to look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kylian Mbappe, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Ciro Immobile. You spoke to Jack about having your superstars. I think it's safe to say that your forward line there is your superstar position. So, what's made you pick those three?
Oh well, you just look at goals in their leagues, and I know you can say that the likes of Liga, where Mbappe's been, it's not the most competitive in Europe, but he still scores a lot of goals and gets those assists. He's electric, as we all know. I mean, he's proved that in the tournaments previously. If you look at Immobile, his league form in the Serie A is brilliant. It's been brilliant, and Ronaldo speaks for itself. Really, he's done it on all the top leagues and on all the big stages, especially comes to tournaments as well. I think he had a bit of a blinder against Hungary, one of the other tournaments, a couple of tournaments ago or something. Scored an unreal free kick and whatnot. Or against Spain as well, actually. So yeah, like I say, all these strikers, they have their own these reasons why they're in there, because they're top predators when it comes to scoring goals.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And if you do want to get involved with the Discord, as we were talking before about the Switzerland, you can keep in touch with us and listen to Reedy talk about all his favourite Swiss players and how much of a great country they are. You've got to head to esportslive.com.au and you can get the Discord links there. And you can also read, articles that are going to be published from the guru himself and myself coming out in the next couple of days. Matt's already got one up. Matt, do you just want to give us like a quick little rundown of what you wrote?
Yeah, so just doing some articles for obviously the tournament, and first one just about under the radar nations, and I've picked Spain as a country I think are going to be one to watch. They've kind of gone under the radar for this tournament. There's been previous tournaments, and you talk about your favourites, and Spain are normally in your top three. But I'd probably say for this tournament, you're looking at France, Belgium. Probably wouldn't even put Spain sort of in that top 2 or 3. So they're definitely going under the radar. They got 3 home matches. They've got some really good talent in there. They've dropped some big players, but they've been able to replace them with people like Laporte. There's Ferran Torres in there. Good young prospect. Moreno. So real talented squad, and I think they're one to watch. So have a read if you haven't, and let me know what you think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll have an article published about England and what sort of assets I think you should be going for from them. As you know, as an England fan, I probably have a little bit more insight than I do with them than Matt probably would with Spain and stuff like that. But you've also got one coming out on Denmark in the coming days as well, mate, don't you?
Yeah, Denmark. So a bit of a preview. They've got 3 home games.
What
So
a
I'm
spoiler
really,
that was.
yeah, really big on the nations that have got, host nations. I think that's going to be really big and real critical for the Euro Fantasy League as well. And I think a lot of people are, they're not, they're picking their teams and not quite thinking about the players that have got these home games. And Denmark have got 3 of them. They've got a pretty nice group. They've had some good results in friendlies, so they're going to be writing an article about them and a couple of their players.
Yeah, absolutely. And, thank you very much for all the work you're doing, helping out everyone in the FPL community. So I definitely go and give them a read. Absolutely brilliant article published by the guru himself. So, as I've said, go and give it a read. And that wraps up our draft teams as of Monday night. So I'm sure they'll change before the Euros, but that wraps up the draft team section. So moving on now to the final segment of the podcast. We spoke about sort of like awards last week and stuff like that. But this week we've got, our Golden Boot winner, our winner of the tournament. And we've picked an under the radar player each. We're not sure if you've got one for us, Reedy, but we'll come to you last after everyone. So we will start with you, Matt, as the Golden Boot winner. I think I've got a guess as to who you're going to say, and he's probably going to be similar to a lot of people, a player that's going to be on a lot of people's minds. But who have you gone with?
Yeah, Golden Boot's got to be Kane, Harry Kane for me. I've already put a bet on it, so I'm gonna put him there. So it is pending on how England do, but definitely Golden Boot for Harry Kane, I'd say.
Yeah,
he's already dreamed about Kane lifting this trophy, hasn't he? He's already dreamed it.
The only trophy he lifts in his career.
Absolutely, every single night that's what the guru dreams of, is some Harry Kane glory at Spurs, but we're not too sure if that will happen. But Ollie, are you backing Harry Kane for the Golden Boot?
As an Englishman, of course I am. If England don't win the trophy, then I think they'll win something with Harry Kane lifting the Golden Boot for the 2nd international tournament in a row. Obviously won it at the World Cup, and I think he'll follow suit here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jack, are you gonna break the chain here and disagree? Surely not, as an England fan.
No, not for me. I think Harry Kane is the man. He's gonna be bagging. I can feel it.
Absolutely, mate. Love it. And Reedy, as the 4th resident Englishman on the podcast that we've gone to so far, you better not break the chain either. You better be going with the guru's man, Harry Kane, for the Golden Boot.
I love to throw a little curveball and break the chain in there, Elliot. So for me, it's going to have to be Cristiano Ronaldo. I just think he's just going to absolutely tear it up. I know we've got Mbappe as well. I'd love to say Kane, but I am wary about that Croatia game, and it being a bit dull or potentially being a difficult game. So that does sway me towards Cristiano.
Yeah, and you back Ronaldo over Mbappe?
Yeah, I think so. Portugal have some real, top talents in there, some exciting players. France are just as good, but Portugal really. And I think Ronaldo, with it being potentially the last tournament that he might play, you never know. He might play
he's got 2 more in him yet.
He'll probably play the World Cup. Yeah, he probably will. Probably be playing until he's 50, to be honest. But I fancy him.
Yeah, now that the chain's been broken, we can go straight to Statman, who's probably not going to pick Harry Kane either. So who have you gone with, mate?
No, I think Lukaku's probably my pick. I think he's one of the form strikers in the world at the moment, and I think Belgium are going to be going pretty deep in the tournament. He'd be my pick at the moment.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair shout. And just to make it sway in Harry Kane's favour a little bit, I will also go with the guru's man, Harry Kane, as the Golden Boot winner for Euro 2020. You can call me biased all you want, not really bothered by it. Probably am, absolutely. But I spoke a lot about Jack Grealish before, winning penalties, and if you think about all the penalties Harry Kane got at the World Cup, then double that now with the players that we've got attacking. So he's definitely going to be my pick for the Golden Boot. And if we can make it into fairly far into the competition, I think it's sort of his to lose at this minute. But it'll be interesting because he sort of looks to be playing a little bit deeper these days, Matt, doesn't he? And trying to get get involved in the playmaking, is not so much the finishing. So it'll be an interesting one. Do you reckon?
Yeah, he does play a lot deeper. He likes to get the assist as well. But I think, like you said, penalty kicks are going to be big in this tournament. VAR, it's all over the place. And I think it will be all over the place again in this Euros. And he'll grab a few pens and steal a couple of goals for England. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to cashing in.
We've all got images of Harry Kane lifting the Euros up, so we'd all love to see that. But who have you gone with as your winner of the tournament, Matt? It's we've said Harry Kane for the Golden Boot. You're not going to go with England to win it as well, are you?
No. I'd like to say England, but I think if I'm being realistic and looking at the squads and looking at the other nations, it's hard to not back the French. Really good squad. Obviously won that 2018 World Cup, made the final of the Euros in 2016. And, they're going through that cycle at the moment where, every country kind of has a cycle. And this is theirs. And I think they're the team I've got to back.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't disagree there. Ollie, who have you gone with, mate?
Look, my head says England. We were obviously going through that predictor the other day, and it's the amount of games, like the tough games that we've got coming up. Presumably, if it goes the way we think it's going to go, I think we can win it. Though I'm not going to say that. Then I'm not going to say we will. I don't think they're my pick. I'm also going to go with France. I think the team that they've got is absolutely unreal. It's scary, isn't it? Look at the likes of you got going forward, you've got Kylian Mbappe, who's absolutely brilliant, absolute pace merchant. Got likes of, even like Antoine Griezmann, Karim Benzema. All these players they've got, and then in the midfield, you've got the likes of N'Golo Kante at the back. Obviously Laporte couldn't break in. He's had to switch nationality, with the amount of players that they've got at the back there, France. So I think France are going to win it, but hopefully it's England.
Yeah, I think that really just exonerates, how good of a team France have got when players like Aymeric Laporte can't get into the team and they've got to go to a different nation. I think that really just, really shows how good of a team that they've got. But Jack, are you going to be in agreement with France again?
Can't do it, lads. I'll stick with England. It's happening. England, they're going all the way, boys. Coming home. I think sometimes there's going to be a lot of luck needed on the route. If France finish top, England get Portugal. I mean, how hard is this going to be? Or they get Germany. Whoever finishes runners up if we finish top. So it's going to be tough, But I think obviously a lot of luck needed, and if luck's on our side, which I hope it is, then England are going to ride it all the way, boys.
Yeah, that's the attitude that we like to hear from you, Jack. It's a little less depressing than listening to Ollie and Matt go on about France. But
wait till you get to Chris Reed.
Take it away, Reedy.
I've got to go to the Swiss, haven't I, boys? They're going to pull it off.
Great people. What a great country.
Just lovely people, you know what I mean? As Brendan Rodgers would say, beautiful human being and all that, So if I'm going to obviously be serious and pick someone, France for the lads said at the beginning, great shout. I just don't want them to win it again. You know what I mean? I think we all want England to obviously win. We'd love it. It'd be amazing. And I don't really want France to win it, even though they're so good. So I'm going to pick. I'm just going to pick someone different, and I'm just going to go with Spain. I'm just going to throw it out there. You know what I mean? I think they're good enough. It's whether Laporte's obviously come in. You mentioned that, Ollie, and stuff. And I think they've got a good mixture of players. It's just whether they can gel together. No Real Madrid players in there, obviously, which is a big call. But I'll go Spain. And I think as well, as you were touching upon there, Jack, about England and the whole group thing, I did see it was if we finish second, we get Germany, this, that, and the other. But I have seen somewhere lately that apparently if we do actually finish second, we'll play one of the teams in Group E. So either Spain, Sweden, Slovakia, or Poland. I don't know if this is true 100%.
Just spreading rumours on the pod.
If we win our group, it's second out of
Group
the
of death.
group of death, as I call it. Yeah.
Group F.
Yeah, so realistically, we probably want to finish second, but you want to win every game. So it's a difficult thing to really to do.
Sounds like
if you're the best team, you're the best
Liverpool
team.
kind of mentality, that wanting to finish second.
But I was about to say, if you're the best team, you're the best team. You beat anyone, you beat everyone.
Yeah.
You win the tournament. So it doesn't really matter. We love these big games regardless. But a few Englishmen, I think, will be sneakily thinking, "I hope we finish second." But we'll see.
So the 5 countries that you reeled off, then, mate, are you going for Spain or?
I'm going for Spain, mate. I'm going for Spain. Español, vamos.
We'll have Spanish lessons with Reedy up weekly for a different podcast as well as soon as they start. We'll have to see. But we'll move on to you now, Statman Dave. And are you going to go with your country, Belgium?
Yeah, I will. I think, looking into their form today, especially some of their stats, they've been pretty impressive in the lead up, and they've got a pretty experienced back end as well. One of the best keepers in the world, and then they've got plenty of old hats in defence that'll keep plenty of clean sheets. The only concern, I suppose, is around that midfield with De Bruyne and Hazard and how much game time they're going to get. If they play plenty of game time late in the tournament, then I don't see anyone beating them.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I think they're definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with, and it's a bit boring, but I've got to agree with Ollie and Matt. I think that the French are just going to be a bit too powerful for everyone at this competition. I think it's too early for England to sort of make their stance on where they're going to want to be competing for a couple of years to come. But I think that the French is who it's going to be for me. You look at the players that they start with, and then you look at their bench, and it's they've just got. They can field two starting 11s and still beat most teams in the world absolutely comfortably. And you look at the list of players that they haven't called up, and it's just ridiculous how much youth and great players that they've got that they could call up. So it's going to be an interesting one, but I think it's going to be boring, and I think that the France are going to win it. Not comfortably. I think they'll be challenged, but I think they'll win it. And I think Karim Benzema is one that we haven't really discussed much on the podcast, but I think he's going to be quite important for them, and I think he'll do quite well. Obviously, he hasn't been called up too much in his career, but I think Giroud's a great player for them, but I think Benzema is going to give them that sort of cutting edge that is going to get them over the line, and I think they'll be the winners of Euro 2020, I think, boys. But as we've all decided there, that's 3 for France, 1 for Spain, 1 for Belgium, and then 1 for England. So we can, fingers crossed that Jack's right, and hopefully me, Matt, and Ollie are as far wrong as we can be. But we'll move on to the last sort of award now, and we're going to name an under the radar player each, and we'll start with you, Matt. And you mentioned him before, and you've had him in your FPL team a lot of times this season as well. He's been in and about of your team and your draft teams and everything like that. He's been discussed a lot on the podcast as a differential on FPL. So he's made his way over onto the Euro side of things. So go with who you've got, mate.
Yeah, look, from a fantasy league perspective, it's going to be Che Adams, the token Englishman in the Scotland squad, or actually probably one of many England players in the Scotland squad. He's done well since he's had the call up to play for them, and a couple of good fixtures early on Czech Republic. And then he plays against England. He knows what it's like playing against these Premier League players. I think he's a good shout as a third forward option and could go under the radar.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I definitely think he's one to look at as well. So, it's definitely going to be on a lot of Euro fantasy managers' minds, I would imagine. We'll move on to you now, Ollie. And who have you picked as your one to fly under the radar?
Yeah, it's another striker, and I can't believe I'm saying he's going to fly under the radar. And I'm shooting myself in the foot here because of his low ownership. 8% of managers on Ciro Immobile, and for me, that's far too low. I've got him myself. He just scores goals for fun over in Italy, doesn't he? He's with Lazio at the moment. He just bags goals. 8% ownership. More people need him, and I'm one that it's one that I'm pretty happy to have.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be one that's they haven't got the most difficult group as well. So if you look at it like that, goal scoring striker, not the most difficult group in the world. Italy unbeaten in what were we saying before, 28 games or something. So it looks like it's going to be a fairly nice recipe for a good tournament and a nice summer for Ciro Immobile, doesn't it, Ollie?
Yeah, I think Italy, we haven't even mentioned them in the, teams that could go on and win it. They're coming in probably with the best form out of any team coming into the tournament. Or there's something like, is it 27 or 28 unbeaten at the moment? So, yeah, they'll be right up there as well. And I think Ciro Immobile could have a big hand to play in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll move on to yours now, Jack. And I've just seen who you've put in. And as someone that wasn't back in France, you've definitely gone for a Frenchman. So take it away with who you've gone with, mate.
George, just thinking then, I was like, no one talks about him. He's not the main. He doesn't seem to be the main man. Definitely goes under the radar. But Antoine Griezmann for France, he's he was top goal scorer in Euro 2016. He was runner up to Harry Kane in 2018 in the World Cup. He's probably obviously a bit quieter when you've got all the other big names in there now. And Benzema coming back in. But he's a guy who scores goals. He plays for one of the best clubs in the world. Why wouldn't he be up there? So, and his ownership in the Euro Fantasy now is 3%. It is quite expensive in there, so you do have to obviously consider your options in there. But proven goal scorer on the big stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And more importantly, I don't know if anyone else saw it, but I sent it to Ollie a little bit earlier on France's
I knew you were going to say
national
this.
team's Twitter page. He uses Newcastle on Football Manager, so that's the most important stat that he's got, and he's won it all apparently. He's up to year 2027 with a tune, and he's still banging on as the best manager. So Antoine, whenever you want to retire, mate, you can happily take Steve Bruce's job. So we'll get you up north. So we'll be delighted with that one. But no, Jack, he's definitely one. You look at 3% there, and that's just absolutely insane for a player as good as him, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, obviously, France are in that difficult group, aren't they? So I think there's going to be I wasn't obviously very keen on France because I think there's going to be a lot of low-scoring games in those group stages. With against Germany and Portugal, maybe the Hungary they can grab a few, but I do think anyone who can come out, everyone's going to be thinking about Mbappe, Benzema in that team, and there you go, Griezmann might sneak in and be a top boy again.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not sure if you've got one for us, Reedy, but have you managed to pick an under-the-radar player that you think's going to tear it up at Euro 2020?
I've got about 10, mate, but we haven't got all that time in the world to discuss it, But no, in all seriousness, Depay's one that's been mentioned, but it's not him. It's Kai Havertz, and I know I've mentioned about the Germans and people not having them in their teams and the group of death. So it's really a tricky one, that one, but I don't know. He scored that goal for Chelsea in the Champions League final. He started sort of getting into a bit of form come back end of the season. Tuchel seemed to be putting him in the right position and stuff like that. And I think if the Germans sort of aren't as bad as maybe what we're thinking they might be, I think Havertz, you never know. I think he might relish the chance of scoring a few goals for them. So I'll say Kai Havertz for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's only 2% ownership as well.
He's probably going to be a midfield playing up towards striker as well. So he's definitely a really good shout. But we'll move on to you now, Statman. And who have you managed to pick?
So I've gone with someone who I just bought in today, which is Windledon. So he's however you say that. I know I'm going to say the names properly. He plays a much more advanced role for that, and he scored 8 goals in 7 games.
What's that, man?
I feel bad, dude. It's a tough one to pronounce.
He's in hot form and he's scoring lots of goals from the midfield, and he's only got 6% ownership, and he's got an easier group. So he's got like Ukraine, Austria, and North Macedonia. So I reckon he'll be scoring some goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if you're going to take advice from anyone in the world, take it from us in that little section there. But unfortunately, that does wrap up the second Euro Fantasy podcast from us. We may all your Euro Fantasy dreams come true as you change your teams frantically with the 4 or so days and couple of hours that we've got left. But as we say, may all your dreams come true, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care, stay safe. Goodbye for now.